What's up, world? Hopefully, we're live and hopefully all the technology works. I'm taking it on a little bit of faith, which is not a good mixture for technology to be like, let's do it. Let's do it live. Not a good mixture, but hopefully it's going to work out. I should check and make sure that it shows up on LinkedIn. And if it does, then boom, we just get going because I got my man Joey Muggz waiting in the wings, ready to jump on here. But I want to make sure that everything shows up correctly on LinkedIn, and then we'll get rocking. Super excited for this today. We were just talking, we were chopping it up. Who knows what we're going to be talking about because it goes all the way from how did you get here? What is your purpose? What is your calling? All the way to deeper things. We'll see how far we can get in maybe an hour ish. But let's see. Did it show up on my page? Is it live? I'll have to look and see. If I start getting notifications, then I'll be see. Okay, it looks like it's there. Let's see. It looks like it's rolling. I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, technology looks like it's working. So let's get right into it. With no further ado, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Muggz. We got to bring him on here. So what I like most about Joey, whenever we talk, deeply passionate, super passionate about what he's doing. He's a father, he's a husband, he's an entrepreneur, and probably more importantly than anything to him, he's a man of faith and purpose and working on being Christ-like every day. But let's bring Mr. Muggz to the floor.
What's
Mr.
up,
Muggz.
everybody? A little ching ching. Give me a little ching ching, bro. Come on, you can't
Oh,
have.
wait a minute. I
No,
know I
listen
can't
to that
have
coffee
Mr.
today,
Muggz.
are you, bro?
Uh, uh,
Hey, look at bang,
boom,
bang, bang.
boom. There it is. That's got to be part of. So when you do your podcast, it's coffee uh heavy forward. It's coffee centric at the beginning, right? Is that
Absolutely.
it?
Yeah, that's got to be, bro. This is gonna have to be a trademark thing or something, dude. Okay, we're gonna make it like a custom, you know?
Exactly. Well, and that was, I think, was maybe one of my first impressions was how much you loved coffee, how much that was maybe part of your personal brand. It's been a few years now. We first met on
Yeah.
just a whim at actually a LinkedIn Live event in Orlando in your backyard over there. So it's been a
Yeah.
minute. But yeah, tell me a little bit about that. How long has the Mugs thing been part of your brand?
That's a good question, brother. And it was literally a LinkedIn Live in-person event. That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So these events work, dude. You end up meeting people and you end up sticking with. So, for those of
Who
you
would have
watching,
thought meeting people
yeah,
eyeball to eyeball and not doing everything virtual would be
who
a
to
good
guess?
thing? Like
Yeah, dude.
we're discovering fire right now, right?
Yeah, dude, for sure. So Muggz became a moniker after coming to Christ. So my deal was is I realized I ended up working in the car business. I cut my teeth in the car business, moved to some different like levels of within the shop, and then I got out after like working the 90-hour work weeks at the time, like brand new baby, like dude, I was dying, right? And I jumped into working at a coffee shop. And at that coffee shop, I learned actually it was specifically a Starbucks, which is funny. Most coffee snobs aren't really happy about that. Like they don't. I ain't here for that argument. Join me in another day for that one. But what I learned was reading a book from the then CEO Howard Schultz. A number of things, particularly, it helped me take ownership of the process in which the care that a bean goes through and how it also ought to be delivered. And it helped me
Mm.
realize the passion I have for customer experience and how much that actually did vibe with that then CEO, and how like it gave me ownership of my role within that bigger company. So what was neat was I saw the process that a coffee bean starts in a cherry. Okay. And so the coffee beans that we have go through this whole process of like, being dried out, roasted, dried out. There's different ways that you could do that. And again, coffee snobs will get on me about it. But the process is it starts in the ground, gets harvested, hopefully ethically, makes it through that entire process of actually being roasted, packaged, shipped, landed, sent to like a local store. At the time, I'm in Northern Virginia. And then to know that a coffee shot, when you pour a shot of espresso, has three main parts to it. There's the crema on the top, the heart, or the body, and the heart. And so if you leave an espresso shot without mixing it with anything, the heart bleeds into the body of the shot and it makes this espresso bitter, that shot. And so what I found was, man, that bean goes through a big process that somebody cared about making sure that it was through like ethically sourced, right, from a good region of the world, like all these different things, for it to end up in my shop for what? Some punk to not make it right. Right? Like for me to charge somebody $8 and it not be made right, like it drove me
Oh,
nuts.
oh,
So Muggz, in terms of how that connects with the branding in Christ, there's a scripture in, I believe it's in First Corinthians, one of them, one of the first, well, one or two, okay,
yeah.
Corinthians, where it
Yeah,
talks
yeah.
about that our prayers go up to the Lord like a fragrant offering. And I thought about that,
Mm.
man. Like Christ would have walked on the earth at a time that coffee wasn't available to him in the region. So he would have never had a cup of coffee. But there's something special, man, when you have a really well-made cup that you have this like,
Oh, dude,
oh man. So like I
100%.
want my life to be absorbed back up into God. When I die, I want him to, yes, my son. I want that. So
Dude, I
that's the goal.
I had no freaking idea how deep that would go with asking that question.
Forgive me, bro.
Yeah, no, dude, that's awesome. And learning about coffee and thinking about that way. I love new metaphors. So the idea of the body and the heart and the combination and different things like that's awesome.
Yeah, amen.
Coffee is exactly that though, right? You have the fragrance that gets your senses. You drink it. I'm gonna put this on a t-shirt. Nobody steal it. I'm putting it out there though. I know I'll see it on already, but like coffee is like a warm hug for your insides. Like it's like
Dig it.
getting a hug from someone, dude. It feels great to drink a cup of coffee.
Yep.
I put this out somewhere else. I was like, it's the only like drug or addiction you can have that like
Yeah.
everybody supports.
Yeah.
Everybody's about it. If you're a coffee addict, you're thought of as productive and like
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
high energy, awesome
For
individual. But
closers, bro. It's for
for
closers.
closers.
It's like,
Coffee's for closers. Exactly.
like,
Dude.
dude, I just love even just the process, the ritual of it. There's something about it, like almost it's a high you get, right? It really
Yeah.
is. Legal stimmies, bro. We're on the stimmies today.
We're hacking our hormones, hacking our senses. But
Yeah.
with coffee, what's cool, and it's funny because I never worked as a barista. I never worked in a place that roasted it. But when I lived in Denver, one of the grocery stores would roast fresh beans right there. They are the best I've ever had. It really doesn't matter. They were roasted like the day before, or you would see them roasting them at the grocery store. And
Fantastic.
when I bought them, oh my goodness, I got into there was a time I thought I was like a frou-frou person. I had the
Yeah.
Chemex. Do you remember the Chemexes? Did you ever use those?
No, what's
So
that?
it's like a glass, makes you look like you're in a laboratory
Oh
making
yeah.
food.
I got
And
you.
and you had the special thing and it'd be like, oh, if it's really fresh, it'll bloom. So I'm pouring it over and I'm like, oh, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
So that actually, and I love Turkish coffee.
Oh
Turkish
yeah,
coffee
dude.
is
That's slept
phenomenal.
on. That's a slept on, like, oh my gosh, Turkish coffee is delicious, dude.
Yeah, and you don't even need, my one, buddy he's actually from Albania, he's the first time he made it for me, and the way he made it with just sugar and boiling it over and whatever, you don't need the hot sand, you don't gotta get crazy, I don't know, I mean, that's the thing, but, I had it in Chicago that way, where they do that, like, the hot sand or whatever, it's really
Yeah.
cool, but anyway, Turkish coffee is delicious, and you're basically drinking the grounds, so no wonder why you're getting, like, 'cause it's just like
Yeah.
powdered coffee, essentially, after you grind it so fine,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, Turkish
This is what's
coffee.
cool about it, man. Is like there's all these little nuances on how you even prepare it. The same beans can be prepared differently and give you a different experience. So it really does
Yes.
become a bit of a chemistry set in the kitchen, you know? And
Dude, it's as deep as any other, hobby that's similar that you wanna get into. It's as deep
yeah.
as if you're a
Uh,
vine, it's as I was gonna say vino. It's as deep as if you're into wine, right? How deep and complex and the different
correct.
regions that it grows and how it's prepared, how it's harvested, all these different things. Same with beer, right? You can be really in depth with the hops and the combination and the fermentation process and what is it fermented in and all these different things.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like coffee's right there. I think those are the 3 that I really think of. There's probably some other ones, but, like, you can
True.
be so in depth, and it's so cool when you meet people like what you were describing, where they do it themselves and they just know it to a T. They're passionate about wine, they're passionate about brewing beer, they're passionate about coffee to the point that it becomes special. Like, you wanna hear more about it.
Yeah.
You could be mildly interested in coffee, but as soon as somebody starts digging into it, it's like, "Really? Tell
Like,
me
dude,
more.
yeah,
I'm
dude.
excited."
Yeah,
You've
yeah.
you've transferred your excitement, you've transferred your passion to them, and if they weren't before, they're different now. Like, they're a little excited. They wanna learn more.
Absolutely, man. This is the special part about when we're able to convey what we're passionate about, albeit, you know, I got a
Yes.
friend of mine who I met also here through LinkedIn, not nearly as passionate about coffee as I am, but what he is about, dude, you see it turn on, right? When it
Yeah.
happens, you talk about it, you see it turn on. And I think there's a level of communion that comes with coffee, right? It's one of the reasons that I enjoy it. Like, cigars are also something I like to have with a friend,
Fair,
right? But a
fair,
cup of
yeah.
coffee too, dude. Like, I don't want to be knocking down a bunch for no reason. I love the opportunity to have a real discussion over it. It doesn't got to be deep, but just a real one. Like, let's just,
Yeah.
be able to commune over something that both brings us enjoyment and lets us shoot the
Dude.
breeze while being productive, right?
Well, you just hit on 2 more I thought of, which was whiskey and cigars. You could get people 100% in the same camp, and even just what you said, the rarity of having a deep, meaningful conversation.
Yeah.
When does that ever happen? Like, that is enough if we have to start talking even on things that I feel purposeful about. If I wanna get excited and jacked, put me in a meaningful conversation where neither of us know what's gonna happen, neither of us know what the other person knows, and we're just exchanging ideas back and forth, and we're coming up with new ideas, and we're collaborating. Dude, I don't even need coffee then, I hate to say
Yeah.
for
Well,
as
dude,
much as I love coffee, I'm gonna be
straight up.
jacked. Yeah,
Straight up, dude. That's the specialty of being. This is like the desire we see a lot now is, you've been hearing even through these like LinkedIn webs of be
yeah,
authentic, be your authentic self. First of all, no one can really teach you how to be your authentic self, but there is framework you can follow to help yourself based on what your strengths and weaknesses are, of course. But
mm,
then there's also this other side of willingness to engage in conversations organically that we don't know what the structure is. Like, there's only
yes.
so much I can learn how to read something and learn about something before I'm gonna learn by doing it. So, I have a just band geek, bro. Okay, I played sports. I was kind of like that. And ironically, the
You're
same kid that I am today as an adult is like have my hands in a lot of different pots, so competent in a lot of different areas, and
yes.
know a lot of people who are way better at it than I am. And that's what made me cool, was knowing how to connect the jocks and the band geek. But like, dude, I picked up on a Facebook Marketplace a piano a couple weeks ago, and this is from 1938, bro, from London. You know how dope this
Oh,
thing is in my house? Like,
whoa! I
yeah,
need to see a picture of that. I need to
yeah,
see a picture.
I'll have to post it, dude. I've been plugging away at that thing, and then just having basic principles of music. I forget what the artist's name is, man. Last name Collier, I think it is.
Okay.
He plays a 6-string guitar that he learned. He taught himself how to play on a 6-string guitar by giving it only 5 strings and then tuning them differently. So he was breaking
Okay.
all the fundamental rules, and then is just an unbelievable artist. Like, the music that I've heard from this guy and the interviews I've heard him articulated,
Yeah.
phenomenal value.
He's
It got
pioneering.
nothing to do with the school, bro. Got nothing to do with the book. Okay, it has everything to do with being willing to experiment and love the process of doing so. So, I definitely am with you, dude. There's times where I don't know what that person is passionate about nearly as much,
Yes.
but they are, and man, that makes me a little bit more intrigued to be engaged in the conversation, even if I don't walk away changing my profession, bro.
You know what? And that even touches on if you're talking with someone and they're passionate about it, you don't have to know anything for them to have an awesome conversation with you. If you're curious, you're intrigued, you ask questions around it, like, really, how long did it take you to learn that? And I want to know that question. I'm not asking a vain question like, whoa, you started with 5. Where did you even come up with the idea to try that? Why would you do that? Nobody
Mm,
does that. Or that's not even that's the opposite of what they would tell you to do at school or in the books. Okay, so what made you think of that? What kind of weird? There'd probably be some crazy backstory. Well, I did this when I was 5, and it taught me that you can't just follow the rules, something like that.
yeah,
Really? Now this story has become way more fascinating because you got to see all the pieces along the way. I
yeah,
think that's even the same thing with like an entrepreneurial journey, somebody who starts a business, somebody who does anything. You see the end result, and I'm always like, that's cool, but how did you get there? And then when you
yeah.
ask most people that, they give you like these big time jumps. And it's like, yeah, yeah, no, but like, tell me, like, give me a good example in there of
Yeah.
what made the difference or what
There's
was
a
the deal?
catalyst somewhere in
How
there,
did
dude.
yeah. How did you actually do that one piece? Because that's interesting.
Yeah.
100%. And it goes from passion, which is again, that's the whole reason we're here, which is so perfect that we're just nonstop talking about what people are passionate about and how you find it. And I think that's another thing. Oh, and one more on that. I've seen you were talking about Facebook Marketplace. I've seen like baby grand pianos where they're just giving them away. And I'm
Mhm.
like,
I know.
dude,
I think
how
this one's for
awesome would
free,
my
dude.
house look with a
Yeah.
freaking grand piano just sit I don't even have to play it then.
Yeah.
It would be awesome. Um, if I could get it. It's probably thousands of dollars to move, but, um, anyway, no, just getting back to passion and things like that, but tell me a little bit about that with you, like, we've talked, obviously, when I met you, you weren't doing exactly what you're doing now, you've evolved just like every person should. You've changed,
Yeah.
you've adapted, you're on a new venture with what you're doing. Where did the genesis of that start at? Where did you decide, "Hey, I wanted to do this," and also just kinda take us to where you're at right now and
Yeah.
what's next?
Yeah. Big shout out to my current CEO for Vocal Point consultant, Derek Roush. So Derek is such a dear friend to me. I met him at church in a men's group, and he has been the leader of my men's group for the last like 6 years. So aside from us having, our common goal of wanting to serve the customer and being interested in the same line of business, he met me prior to this, just serving in a different capacity within a call center, and recruited me out after discipling me for the 2 years, give or take, seeing character developments, being unapologetically honest with him about what I was going on in my own personal life, because I wasn't looking for a job, dude. I was just looking for a brother. And in that regard, it has certainly been a wonderful opportunity to work in the context of being able to do hard work with a brother in Christ for the common good of knowing that whether or not we close a deal on the next customer, my interaction with them is strongly influenced by treating them like the imago Dei, or the image bearer of God. And so whether or not we do business, what's important is that I can put my head to sleep at night knowing that I have, with true efficacy, done all things, both word and deed, as if it was unto the Lord. And then be able to also tell my kids, when daddy worked hard today and the food that we got on the table today was done ethically. And a brother who is also going to advocate for every decision that supports those two principles, because he does the same. So it's very cool, man. Since meeting you at that LinkedIn event, I now work in a space where our goal at Vocal Point is to help make better relationships between businesses and their technology vendors. Anything related to cloud services, technology for a business, we dip in. The difference with us as independent advisors is I'm the guy that knows a guy. So am I the smartest in cybersecurity? No, but it's certainly something that's important. Most businesses
Mhm.
are talking about, and I know more than just a little something about. Same thing with phones or internet or infrastructure. The difference is sometimes you need to know the plug, baby. You need somebody to get you hooked up. I'm the
Joey's
guy
the
that does
plug.
it. Yeah. Joey Muggz is the plug, bro. That's where we at. Okay. And that's kind of
Trademark
where,
pending.
yeah, we got to put that on a coffee mug, dude. And that's where, like, it allows such a freedom for relationships like this, where I can meet you time ago. It's not like we're doing business in that context today together, but we have a shared interest in seeing people get serviced well in the line of work that they're in, or the businesses that they're trying to, influence, impact the customer. It doesn't matter. What
Mhm.
matters is the experience overall being holistic, authentic, tangible almost, which is something that I really appreciate about your branding efforts and the way that we've interacted over the years. Is, despite what you happen to be into at the time and the consistency of what you're into over time,
Yeah,
the authenticity is the same, dude. So I think this
dude.
is going to be a very good venture for you as well.
Oh my goodness, dude. I love this because these are the conversations I wanna have every day, and the biggest thing for you is, like, everything is tied back to Christ.
Amen.
It's the nucleus of when you make decisions, it's a guiding light, it's a principle. So many people lack that, and again, I don't I it's one of those things, is this conversation or any that I have in the future gonna be perfect for somebody who's an atheist who doesn't believe in anything? I think it'd be a stretch because my concept or my framework for how reality functions
Mhm.
is with that at the center. And then anytime I deviate from that, I can still look back and go, where am I going? What was that thing? Where should I be pointed? If you didn't have that, man, the world just seems really tough. Seems really tough to orient yourself and to know. And you probably have some version that's based on that, but you just don't call it that. I think Jordan Peterson talks a lot about that. Like you exist and treat other people like their divine worth, right? Like that, not that they're just animals bumping into things all at random. Like you can't really function in that, even if you cerebrally believe that that's actually what
Yeah,
happened. That's fine,
yeah,
but
I
you
follow
can't
that.
you can't interact with other humans that way because people aren't going to appreciate that. You aren't
Yeah.
going to give them the level of respect. How are you going to even know how to do things? So it just goes back to what you said. Well, this was a core principle. The reason I worked with this gentleman is because we were in alignment. And when I'm doing things, I stay continued in alignment. Think of how many
Mhm.
people they aren't aligned with anything, or it's a superficial alignment.
Yeah, dude.
It's what am
That's
I
that's
doing
one
to
thing
make
that happens a lot. Forgive me for interrupting, but that's a pretty big pain point that I like to address in business. A lot of the problems come from this like pseudo unity, where like, look, we don't even have to align on everything on how we believe. There's not anybody in the world that you align with everything they say or believe, but you can be decent in the way that you communicate, work through the challenges and the troubles that you have from working with one another or your own maybe worldview. But what's important is to not act like you can't be straight up with somebody about how what you believe is. So at least you know and they know exactly what you're going to get on the table. And then we can actually play the cards. It's the problem of trying to like, maybe Christianese here, but the context of God can't bless the mask that you keep wearing. Bro, the minute this is cool, dude. I got a teenage daughter and she's in an interesting season of life,
yeah.
as it is. And one of the things I addressed her about a few weeks ago was like, look, it's not that it's ever a problem to listen to like sad music, because there's times I listen to a sad song and I'm bumping afterward, right? Like it actually cheered me up that I got to go through that experience instead of suppressing
Yeah.
it. The problem is the hard pendulum swing on either side, where like I am like there's a probably I'm sure a generated AI image I can put up of like a guy who's smiling with a bunch of cracks in his face. Like you're just,
Yeah.
if you put that front on for too long, you won't know who you are under the mask. You'll know that who you are
Uh,
under the mask is so actual tangible in the privacy of your thoughts that you refuse to take the mask off, and which is why a lot of people end up doom scrolling, dude. Not that you
dude.
can't be recreational and just kind of mindlessly scrolling, but I was actually Oana Leonte that I interviewed at some time ago, who was mentioning that I think consumers are smarter than we give them credit for. So when they
Yeah.
doom scroll on TikTok or IG or something on LinkedIn, pretending that you're working, um,
YouTube or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, whatever it is, you kind of are intentionally doing that. The problem is when you fall into the mindlessness of doing that rather than I'm intentional. The other side of the pendulum swing, beside not knowing who you are under the mask, is only identifying with the problem. So the
Uh,
only way that I really feel like I'm me is if I'm listening to that sad song because I'm always sad. And then the
yes.
problem is you self-perpetuate the problem. So while those are the hard pendulum swings, the nuance, bro, part of this is, dude, experience what you're going through, experience the differences of maybe worldview within work, within belief system, within execution. And then from being clear about what cards are on the table, then we can actually negotiate how do we work together through those challenges.
Oh my goodness.
That's
You just
the
brought like a bushel basket of things that we could unpack in 100 different directions.
sorry,
It's
dude.
dude, but it's awesome, right? And even just back to what you said about your daughter, like it's very easy to start trying to identify. I'm sad. Who else is sad? We're sad together. I like
Yeah,
sad music. Well, media, music, they program you. So
yeah,
it's not just like, oh, it's harmless. Like even on a small level, it goes into your head and it never leaves. I'm still singing lyrics from, the darkest Eminem songs you ever
yeah,
heard from when I was 16. Just wake up
yeah.
singing
I
crazy
sit
stuff.
back and just, yeah.
And at the time, and even still probably, I love aspects of those. You feel a certain way.
Sure.
It's good to lean into and explore moods and understand things. You're not like afraid of your emotions and different things. But do
Yeah.
you want to be that? Do you want to identify as that? I mean, even for me, like people a lot of times will think, oh, there's no way you're that happy. And I'm like, probably not, but that's who I bring to the table. I'm not going to
Yeah.
bring someone else to an interaction because I know that having a positive outlook towards life and interactions is going to give the best result. So even if I was to feel bad, it would be inappropriate for me to bring that to life because I'm
Yeah.
only going to create that. I'm spreading that.
Yeah.
And so like what you
Good.
didn't exactly say though, but what could be with your daughter, like, hey, you gotta be careful with what you're programming your brain with this dark
Yeah.
stuff or identifying as being a sad or this. And then obviously that can manifest into a whole bunch of things. People can have their whole identity as that. What if you have to choose identities and we get to choose, why would you want that one? There's
Yeah.
nothing there's nothing
Yeah.
positive about it. It
Yeah.
doesn't lead to anything. Maybe the biggest thing is you would find other sad people that you could be friends with, but why would you wanna do that if you
Yeah.
got the choice? So
Yeah.
so that was one part of what you said. What were we also talking about? Oh, I was gonna say, like, with, even with, like, I can have some of the deepest conversations with somebody who has nothing to do different religions, even atheist people. Sometimes I've really had great conversations with people
I
who
have to.
believe the opposite of me because
Yeah.
they bring a different perspective, and they've at least thought about it. I would say I'd rather talk to a respectful atheist than, like, a lukewarm Christian, if we're talking religion, politics, anything, because they, at least an atheist person, they've thought it through, they've tried to come up with things, they've wrestled with it a little bit, instead of just like, well, I showed up here, everybody else is, I don't want to rock the boat, so I'm just gonna kind of do the
Yeah.
same thing.
Go along
Put
with it,
some,
get along.
yeah, yeah. So, and you do need those other people to understand, because they also strengthen. You could picture this in business too. When you have
Mhm.
someone who challenges you or goes against what you're saying, if they are 100% wrong, that's still good for you. It's
Yeah.
super great, because then I have to organize my mind. I have to organize the pieces to disprove that, even if not to them, but to myself, which then
Correct.
strengthens my opinion and my belief, because they brought
Exactly.
something to me and I was able to rationalize it in my head. Now, some people might just dismiss it. Like, I don't listen to anything that isn't that. That's against my worldview. I'm not that. They just, but if you consider what they're saying, as long as it's not pure literal nonsense, there
Mhm.
probably is some part that you need to look at, that it points you towards something. And if we went in a more cosmic sense, maybe they're exactly there as a teacher for you. Not all of our teachers are going to be nice, happy, and affirming. Some of them are going to
Yeah.
be a-holes that
Yeah,
challenge
and,
you.
and completely contrary to what you thought you needed at that moment. That's
Yes.
look, dude. What's the best time to be patient, bro? When you're stressed. So when the Bible teaches us that love is patient, love is kind, and you're praying for patience, what do you think is happening every time you get irritated? By traffic, by the kids, by the
Yes.
you didn't take the trash out on time, by the non-promotion, whatever it is, dude. That's the opportunity to now exercise what you think you believe. There's a book I started picking up here a week ago. Is it about a week, 2 weeks now? Called Just Courage.
Oh,
And
okay.
he says in the early part of this book, he's quoting some other dead saint from like 150, 200 years ago, where the guy's
Okay.
talking about how there's a phenomenon in humans that we tend to say things that we don't believe. And then the most prominent example he gave was that of Christians. And the context he was talking about was professing Christians who say things like blessed and highly favored. Like, do you believe that? Like,
Do
when
you
you're going
live
through
it? Do
adversity,
you
do you
live it?
realize that the adversity itself is the blessing? You're not
Yes.
loved, dude, just because you're going through something hard. And I think that is a great context to kind of sober your mind to think, like, it's not just that we think it's, all butterflies and rainbows here. I said briefly before we got live today, people think that, and I got this from Vodi Bakum, dope pastor, highly recommend any of his
Uh,
work.
okay.
But he says people think that Christians don't get to do what they want to. It's not true. Christians do get to do what they want to. God just changes their want to, and it's so
Yes,
true, dude.
dude.
So
You know what? It's one of those things that people, they look at their life, and a lot of times they're doing stuff on repeat, and they wonder,
mhm.
why does this keep happening to me? It's like, because you failed the test, because you
Yeah,
didn't learn it. You think you went through it, but you didn't learn what you needed to learn. Maybe you survived it. Maybe you got a C minus on it, and I need you to show up as an A player. So I guess you need to run through the test again.
well
And
said.
that's okay. Like, that's the tough thing that if we just gotta lead in. Like, from now on, we're canceling all the business stuff. We're going straight straight into faith and whatever. But, like, I've seen clips, what I like, sometimes the algorithm will get smart with me. It'll,
Mhm.
feed me exactly what I want to hear, and create a bubble for me. And every once in a while, it'll throw a bone of, like, a challenging idea. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but I had someone where it was like, some guy who's maybe was a prominent atheist in like the 70s. I have no idea, but it's like he asked a child's question, and I think maybe that was one of the things I had heard also from Jordan Peterson. It's like, well, if this and that, then why does God let bad things happen? Like,
Mhm.
your view of how the world should work is so small that you've taken and looked at a little corner and said, this is unjust and unright from my perspective, and therefore it's wrong. And if that's wrong, then everything else is wrong. That's a child's perspective on right and wrong and what should be allowed and what should be intervened on and what should be changed. Because bad things can happen. If we just controlled everything and made everything perfect, you would be so bored. You'd have to
Mhm.
challenge nothing about yourself. You don't have to become anything different. You don't have to fight it. You don't have to speak against it. You don't have to solidify what you believe because everything's perfect. What is the
Mhm.
point of that? You might as well have a bunch of robots. No, you're
Yeah,
going to
right.
have messy people around who are bumping into you, doing messy things, and it's your calling, it's your right to grow, become a better person, and use that as an example to do things differently. It's not to make your life perfect all the time and that you don't have anything to learn, because I know for sure if everything was made perfect for you, you would absolutely hate it. You would
Yeah,
absolutely hate life. There would be no purpose to it. So
yeah.
it's the purpose is, what are you going to do about it? I
Mhm.
didn't, if I'm say I'm God over here, I'm not the one who broke out this war. You got a bunch of messy humans that I let have free will and let them do that because I didn't want to make robots. If I wanted to make robots, everything would be okay, but there wouldn't be much point,
Yeah,
right?
and you wouldn't even know you were a robot because you'd be the robot.
That it,
You would just be, you know. It's
where's
true.
my robot? I got one. You wouldn't even know. Maybe there's a planet of robots we don't know about. And
Yeah,
he's
right.
like, you know what? He looks at us sometimes and goes, you know, it wasn't the worst thing.
Yeah,
Them
yeah. That's
them
funny.
robots aren't being stupid. We'll say that.
Yeah,
But but it's a child's perspective that nothing bad should ever happen to you, that bad things shouldn't happen in the world. And isn't that mean? No, that's the purpose, is to overcome that, is to change, is to be
yeah.
better in your own microcosm of life. When you get stuck in traffic, hey, there's your moment. There's your moment for patience.
Mhm.
Oh, I get so. Is it good for you to get boiled up and overheated about every little thing, or should you practice patience?
Yeah.
And most of the time, we won't learn and grow by choice. I could
Mhm.
say that for myself for sure. I can't speak to everybody, but there's like 1 in a million people that are just out there putting themselves through the hardest hardships, like the David Goggins of the world, where they're just beating themselves up to see what happens. Nobody will do that. We're all seeking comfort. We're all seeking ease, unless we have a bigger vision, unless we have a bigger purpose to point us to, and then we will choose, you know what, that vision and that direction and that change in my life, that job, that business that I'm starting is worth the pain.
Yeah.
Sometimes that'll be compelling enough, but most people are almost forced into these circumstances, and
Yeah,
that can
that's
be a
what rock
good thing.
bottom does, bro.
Right.
Is it forces you to confront everything that you either made mistakes on, and then speaking of Jordan Peterson, he talks about the fabric of reality snapping back like a rubber band. There's nothing
This
that you
is
do
that's a
at one
that's a
point that
Petersonism right there,
yeah,
guys.
yeah, yeah. That's funny, dude. Yeah, very much, very much.
But I'm
And
sorry, you were trying to make a point, and I'm like, he's not
oh,
he
dude, that's
acknowledge my jellyfish fingers here.
yeah.
But anyway.
It'll be lobster soon, bro.
Yeah,
So
my
so
lobster clams, yeah.
what one of my dear friends now, man, met he runs a local like an equestrian ranch that does a lot of great work for veterans, getting out of the military and really trying to pull them out of just PTSD and get them repurposed. And we were talking about identity the other day, and the context that it seems as if like people they lose their identity, whatever it happens to be. And you mentioned this earlier, which is making me bring this up. Like when you lose your identity or your identity is wrapped up in your career, it let the career identity wrap or the parent identity wrap. When your kids become empty nesters, you've lost yourself. Marriages end up failing sometimes because we have two parents who are so involved with being great parents and not being equally focused on being great spouses that they lose themselves because of, and that's the fabric of reality snapping back. Same thing happens
Mm.
with sometimes with veterans, right? Which is it's sad, but I sometimes like right roles don't necessarily equally translate to the civilian world, and I don't necessarily have the support I think I need,
The
and that
community.
can be just an awareness thing. It might not be that those resources don't exist, but you might not be aware that they exist and that you have access to them. That your identity being lost like mutes your life. And this goes kind of to what
Mm.
I'm thinking of your point of people who never grow, right? When you get challenged, when I listen to debates, I don't have to agree with either side. What I can do is then present in myself what my viewpoints are that I agree or disagree with, and then reinforce or challenge why do I think I believe that. And this is where I forget who said this, man. I heard this a couple weeks ago. He said, people won't do the hardest work of thinking. Like they just don't
Oh,
think.
oh, 100%. Yeah,
And
we're
that's
running on loops and programs, and thinking is hard. If you've ever tried to think and you've focused on something, almost within 2 minutes, your brain's going in a different direction. Just sitting and thinking is actually very difficult. A lot of people don't know how to think. I would say myself included. If anybody wants to write this down, I'll give you a tip for it. Think on
writer down.
paper. It's a writer downer. And it's ironic. It's meta because the writer downer is to writer downer.
Yeah.
That's the tip. It's hard it's
That's hot.
hard to organize your thoughts and to keep your mind unfocused if except through writing, because writing focuses your thoughts. You have to put something on paper. You have something there you can reference back to. If you're just sitting there, think, that's even if we talked in business, right? Like I say, if somebody wanted to buy something for you, Joey, and they said, let me go think about it. Whether you would say this or not, you wouldn't go. So you're going to just sit home, sit in like a low lit room and just sit there and go, should I buy this? Should I hire Joey to help me? Should I?
Yeah.
You're not going to do that. You already know. You're afraid of something, right? Like
Right.
you have an intuition. And so we have that when we say we want to think about it or whatever, maybe there is a little bit of a process. You sleep on it, you feel different, but actually just thinking, like thinking through a solution and just doing it. And even I think you said this towards the beginning, but like it's actually better just to get in motion. Sometimes
Yeah.
getting in motion is better than sitting and thinking because you don't know what you don't know and you don't have enough information. And at least if you get moving, it's like a car steering. Have you ever pushed a car with friends?
Yeah.
You can't, you try to move that wheel when it's not moving, it ain't gonna do it.
Brutal. It's brutal. Yeah.
But you get that bad boy rolling, even if someone's just pushing it, it steers. And it's the same for everything. Like getting in motion, getting your body in motion. Like maybe better than thinking would be to not think about it and to go to the gym and get all
Yeah.
the hormones pumping, get all the stuff going, get your brain alive, and then go back and revisit a problem. But still, writing it down is the absolute best way to think and to organize stuff.
Dude, I don't know if that was so. I've recently, I'm talking about the last couple of months. I've shifted some of my own personal YouTube content to be more relevant, remaining Christ centered, but being very focused on business. And that was
Dan
something
Coe, that boy Dan Coe that you
dude,
took me on to.
Dan is super dope, bro. That's definitely somebody that you can learn from, bro. This is a beautiful thing about also the internet, dude. You can be mentored by people who never know you exist. That's okay, right? Like, be good qualifiers. And this is maybe part of where my business principle has been applied in terms of what I do with Derek at Vocal Point in procuring good business relationships is confronting your shopping hygiene. What processes am I going through? Am I qualifying myself? Because like you said, you don't know what you don't know. And yet you'll never know if you never do. And this is what I was getting at a moment ago with my YouTube channel. I dropped a video where I said something relevant to that. Like, you can't iterate what you never perform. Like, you can't correct
Yeah.
you
Or what
do.
you do poorly. You can't iterate
Yeah.
what you won't even do manually, or let's do this with technology. It'll be so much easier. Hey, do
Yeah,
it
man.
manually first, or
That's right.
or work it out on paper. And then when you're like, this is exactly how it works, but it's painful. Now it's time to iterate and do better. But at least don't just go throw your hands up. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, dude.
But
Spend all
keep
your
going.
time learning how to optimize. I want to Here's the point. Like, I'm learning this, especially as I learn more about lifting and just how much. Man, who was it that was talking about it? They asked him. What is more important, physical health or mental health, and he responded, physical health. Oh, and it was Pierce Morgan interview.
Yeah. I saw that. Isn't that funny? Hey, the algorithm decided I needed to see that clip too. That
See, we're
dude's
in the same
great.
vein, bro.
The guy with the shaved head.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was a good clip, and I'll let you finish your point of view. But mine, what I liked is Pierce was probably right in like the micro thing, but it's so
Mhm.
hard to get your mental health right that if you go get your physical, the mental will take care of itself, which he
Correct.
eventually explained. Like, yeah, but it's harder for people to just clean up your mental health. Okay, fix your
That's
mental health.
That's exactly right. Like, he said something like, you can't think your way out of overthinking. That's like brilliant,
Yes, yes.
right? And that's so true. And so, what's the solution when you're overthinking? Dude, go work out. Stop thinking. Go do it. And
Yes.
then there's, in the context of that, I can learn how to best optimize. I got to breathe this way. I got to lift this way. Sure, there's value in knowing how not to injure yourself, dude, and not
Yes.
ego lift. That's important. And then there comes a point where there are people who have no idea and it's just brute strength and they're jacked. Why? Or
Yes.
they're lean. Why? Because they're just doing, bro. Like,
Yes.
most people know. My daughter, we were talking about the same thing regarding mindset. At the time, we shifted from that topic we mentioned
Yeah.
earlier to
Yeah,
this. And
yeah.
I was like, dude, at 14, I was like, if I wanted to get a six pack by summer, what would I need to do? Like, name 3 things that I need to do. She's like, you probably need to work out. I need to eat less. And I don't know, like sleep. I'm like,
She has
you
the
know,
secret
you know
formula.
the secrets,
She's
bro.
so wise.
Yeah,
Dude,
dude, it's
that
just a lot of us already know, dude. And this
uh,
is where when we reflected on JP a lot, man. We're gonna have to
yes,
find
yes.
out how to get put in a book deal with him or something. But like he said something where he was like, dude, there's 5 things immediately that if you just stop doing, you would improve your life.
Oh
So
my
instead of trying to
goodness.
figure out something
Yes.
new, right? Just list out the things that that are affecting you negatively and just stop
Stop
doing them.
doing them.
Yeah,
Yes.
man.
Dude, well, and even what you said right there, like anybody who health is impacted, who's overweight, they don't need one more book. They don't need one more motivational thing. They don't need anything. If they would just start doing what they already know, because most people already know what they should be doing. They've looked it up, they've watched a video, something's resonated. They just won't do it. Myself included. I've been there before. I just don't do it. I don't need any more secret formula. There's no secret fast at this time and drink oil at this time and eat peacock. You don't need any of that. Like that's like elite athlete level stuff that you could add. But why are you like for me included? I'm fascinated by oh really? How does that chemical in there work? Where it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. If
What's
you
the
get
biohack? What's the biohack?
yeah, what's the instant how do I get instant gratification the
uh-huh.
fastest way possible? And that we could go on a whole topic of that, but even just the idea that being obsessed with doing everything more optimized and not being able to stand inefficiency could be a problem right there.
Woo! That's
Then
a
you're
writer downer, bro. Right
then
there, dude.
dude, then you're always looking for an easier way and you never get to doing the thing at all and understanding it. And it's okay to do things hard and difficult that are painful. That's actually, there's a whole bunch of psychology and things in your brain and all that stuff that feel good. I don't know if you've ever done like I've heard people, you know, everybody gets on board with something, then everybody criticizes it and says it's a waste of time. But like the ice baths and stuff, I would
Mhm.
do those a little bit. And the coolest thing about it, but was that I felt like a badass when I got out. Like nobody would do that. Nobody would put themselves through that pain. No, like I just felt like extra levels of confidence because like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm a badass. It's that's the biggest value. Whether there's health benefits or whether it's like I put myself deliberately into a hard situation and I got through it. What else
Mhm.
could I do? Like,
Yeah.
it's good to do hard things. You don't have to do everything optimized and perfect. Just do those hard things, and then it'll get to a point where it'll just be self-evident that you
Yeah.
can optimize and make it better. Like, this will go faster if I do that. Oh, that I
Yeah.
heard about that. I'll try it this time, but I figured out how to do it the hard way first.
Yeah. And dude, check it out. Hard doesn't necessarily mean that it's not simple. Like it's
Sure.
simple. Like it's simple. Eat less calories. That's hard to do, bro. Like it is.
In this
Yeah,
world, it
bro,
is.
it's hard to do. And so, like, you want to talk about the ice bath? So I have restarted the 75 hard. I started about 2 weeks ago, and I've had to restart 6 times in 2 weeks,
Oh
and I
my
have
god, Joey,
never felt more
we're
confident.
twins. We're twins, bro. We're from another
Oh,
mother.
are you, dude? Are you on it right now?
I'm not on it right now, but I just thought about doing it again, and I got probably
Oh,
like
how long you need to
20
think? Whoa,
days.
how long you need to think about it, bro? Let's get you on it today, okay?
Hey, easier said. I can stop me reflecting my own advice.
Yeah.
But like I think the one of the first or second times, like the first couple times when I failed it, is because I was very strict about it. Like I was doing something like, that doesn't really fit. Let me just start over. And then I got about 20 days and I felt really awesome about it. And then there was this huge resistance after I failed it to then start it again. That's kind of a weird and interesting thing too. It's like,
Yeah.
oh man, it's tough to go. I'm gonna have to do that for 75 days. I got to 20, I got to restart. And
Mhm.
there's a big resistance there. And I was just talking to a friend about that. Like a lot of times with goals or doing things or whatever, we don't do them and we don't categorize them, we don't write them down, we don't put them as a real goal to do because then we define what failure is. We define how
Yeah.
we're going to fall short. If I never do it and I never say I'm going to do it, then I'm not failing.
Yeah.
So that it's not only the fear of failure, it's the feeling of failure that's
Yeah.
painful.
Yeah.
It's
You,
painful to fail at things and like, oh, I know I could have done better. Like, oh, if I could kick myself.
Yeah, dude, you were there every other time you fail, so they compound.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest part about it is knowing, right? It's the same thing with even like lying, dude. That's why being a man of your word, or being, this is one of my favorite instructors, like fitness instructors, talked about this with me. He was like, dude, it's not a matter of whether or not that you're going to get shredded. It's a matter of, are you a man of your word? Because how long have you been
Oh,
saying you're going to do it? It's like, oh my gosh,
oh.
very true. Very true. So,
Good.
and this is
That
where
cuts.
the whole context of the 75 hard has been difficult. And it's important to have accountability through people who can lovingly nudge you to do exactly not only what you said, what you would do, but what you're capable of, so that you're not constantly living in the state of atrophy, right? If you're
Yeah.
not growing, dude, you're going to burn, right? Your body's going to just stop using. Same, right? Don't use it, you lose it deal. So the context of the 75 hard for me has been, dude, it is simple but hard to drink a gallon of water every day. It is
Yeah.
simple to think of, oh, well, why does my physical health matter? If I do want to get shredded, I do need to work out. Two 45-minute workouts is a lot of time. But you know what that makes me do? The first thing, I have to address my sleep. Dude, my
Yes.
14-year-old daughter, who says the three things, one of them is sleep. Dude, I got a hard time not being a night owl. So what? So what?
Yes.
So, it's
And
being intentional. It's super important.
I want to do this in a speech. I was just thinking about it the other day, and I haven't worked it all out, but there's certain goals, and I might have heard this somewhere, but then the way I'm picturing it, certain goals and certain things are linchpins to everything else. And the linchpin is I have to go to bed early so I can wake up early enough to do, because you're not supposed to do those workouts back to back. That's kind of cheating. It's meant to be a discipline oriented thing, and it's not meant to be oh, this is the most optimized way for you as an individual to do this, this, and this. This is just, if you do this, it will work. And it's challenging mentally as much as it is physically, probably more mentally than it is physically. Um, but that's the important part. I have the linchpin is I have to go to bed early. And then once I go to bed early, if I don't feel like it, I still have to get up. There's the next thing. I got to get that workout in. Like, but now let's say you wanted to have the energy to work on your dreams and your goals, but you feel like crap. Go to sleep early, wake up, exercise. Now that allows me to go and do the other parts that I would find really fulfilling. Even if I don't want to do those other parts, it doesn't really matter because they are the linchpin. They're holding together or holding you back. They're not there. So you don't ever hook up that other train car to you, right? And then you don't
Yes.
ever allow things to snowball. You don't have, okay, I went to bed early, so I woke up early, so I worked out, so I had the energy to do this, so I got a little extra done than I would have if I didn't, or whatever. Oh, I can't doom scroll. I can't sit for an hour or so at night because I'm not going to sleep very well, and it's a waste of my time. That is going to be the modern day challenge. If we talk about addictions and things, coffee
Yeah.
is going to be the least of the problems because whether I drink coffee or not, I can function and do everything I want to. If I'm doom scrolling for 3 hours at night, I'm just destroying my life with a pointless addiction, watching other people do things and stealing my time. It's no different than TV. It's the
Yeah.
modern day TV, but you can't get away
100%.
from it. Yeah.
100%. Dude, like, this is one of the things that I ran into early in my walk with Christ. I was like, oh, it's so hard for me to read the Bible. And a friend was like, well, dude, you read captions all day on the Instagram posts. It's not that you can't read, bro. That's not true, dude. Let's be consistent, bro. That's true. It's very true. And so what's cool is when you have these type of like maybe incremental growth opportunities for yourself. Like,
Yeah.
let me relate this back to business, dude. When I close a deal, one of the greatest statements I ever heard in terms of the closer's mindset is, when does the close start? And a lot of times, say tier one would be like, oh, right when I get there, when I ask for the
Always
money,
be closing. Always be closing.
right? Somebody might say, hey, before you even make the phone call, right? Which, especially when in my direct sales career, I was very much like, if I'm dialing, dude, instead of smiling and dialing, what I'm doing is I'm literally saying, before I hit the call, I'm saying right here, right now. Anybody who's worked with me in a
Ah,
call center, they would know that, because even if it's not Randy on this next call, I'm still bringing an attitude that the rejection of every other call or lack of communication with a human being and nothing but voicemails is not going to stop right here, right now. When I get Randy on the phone, dude, I'm going to give him the best I got.
woo,
And then the
woo.
context, even before then, when does the close start then? Before the call? Maybe. I would argue the night before. the night before that tomorrow's the day, bro. Tomorrow is the day. So you're closing like
You closed
always.
yourself. You closed
Yeah,
yourself.
bro.
That's one
Absolutely.
of my, I actually have that book sitting on my shelf, The Closer Survival Guide. I've got, I've heard that was Grant Cardone's book, but even just the idea of like, you have to be totally sold on your idea, and either
Mhm.
they're going to sell you or you're going to sell them. And
Correct.
that's you with your daughter, that's you with clients. Like they're either selling you on why they need to listen to terrible, awful music because they're a teenager and they're angsty, or you need to sell them on how there's a better way and there's a better alternative, and they don't have to believe that.
Yes.
Customers, right? They're going to sell you on how terrible the product is and this and that, or you're going to sell them on what part of it is beneficial and why did they even get into it in the first place and what do they need. So we're all selling, we're all going back and forth. But to your point, which I've never thought of that except for the point of like, you have to be totally sold, because
Yeah.
you don't show up the same if you don't believe in something. Like,
Mhm.
could you be a shyster and think it's a total, could you be Wolf of Wall Street selling penny stocks or whatever? Like, there is a very small percentage of people that can live in a level of like in
Discipline.
inauthenticity.
Yeah, yeah.
But
That's
most
true.
people will show up much better when they 100% believe it. And think of people like have sold you on movies, have sold you on restaurants, have sold, like,
Right.
nobody pays you. You're just excited. You got to check
Yeah,
this place out. Oh my goodness,
yeah.
it's the absolute best. Here's all the reasons. So showing up that way with whatever you do is key.
Absolutely. I would even say that probably one of the newest developments I have on that now is not as much as I've learned about the art of persuasion and the value of persuasion and what makes it so distinct from someone manipulating, dude. Because that's something that as a
Yes.
professional, dude, I take high offense when people think that salespeople are manipulators. No, dude,
Mm,
you misunderstand the trade that I've spent my life in, and I understand the value of of what persuasion is done correctly for the right reasons. But here's something I've also I think matured into recently, and I'm just able to identify it. Is that I'm not here to persuade people as much as I am to relay the data. If you're in the position, this is a whole context of the student ready, the teacher arrives, or however that's said. But if,
appears, yeah.
yeah, appears, bro. Why, bro? Why does that matter? When I'm in a call center and I have a bunch of papers next to me in a cubicle and it gives me all the data that I need for the sale, but I don't read it. When I have emails for things I've actually signed up for and I don't read them and they become spam, dude, it's because I'm not ready for that. I'm not ready for it. So in
Mm,
the context of even with servicing the client and or evangelizing, I am not trying to persuade you. I have my persuasions. I think they're worthy persuasions that I would reason
yes.
from, and I believe you should be on the side of the desk. But I also realize that you ought to be in a position, not should, you ought to be in a position to confront your own ideas. And if it's problem and I bring solution, I shouldn't have to persuade you that the solution is right for you as much as relay the data. And if you're ready, you'll hear it. And it won't be such a hard sale at that point.
Oh my
It's a
goodness.
conversation.
Absolutely, and I've seen top salespeople that they skirt the line, so they want to believe that their solution and whatever is needed, but then what happens is their hierarchy of needs and values get switched. So I believe this is the best thing for them, but I also need to make the sale. I need to make commission. So even
Correct.
whatever, and so how do you have to have a higher ethical purpose, that I'm going to find the people that they actually need this and I believe in it, and then not compromise your own and sell to people who don't need it. And so you're right, like sales, there's no, everybody sells something. You sell people on ideas, teachers sell people on ideas, everybody is selling. The difference is are you ethically doing whatever you're doing in life, and do your ethics slide when your personal interests come into what
Yes.
you need. So that's why selling doesn't have to be. But the problem is so many people get the dollar signs in their eyes, they can't see anything else, and
Mhm.
they will bend the truth or sell things that aren't in people's best interest just to get it done and to move on.
Absolutely.
Like people even think of like a car salesman as being the car salesman. Well, people need cars. People are gonna buy cars. You can convince them that this is the best car for them, and you can believe it, and it can be an excellent exchange. You don't have to be slimy. It's when you're selling a broken product that you know is broken, that you just want them to get out the door, that you're not gonna customer service or whatever,
Yeah.
and you're looking for the short term game. then you make the whole profession look terrible. So
Absolutely. Well said,
you're
bro.
preaching. Yeah, hey, we got just a few minutes. What do you want to impart onto the people? Because we got a sharp stop in a couple minutes here. What do you
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
impart to the last words, the writer downers from Joey Muggz, the Plugs Perez? What do you want to?
Well, I probably should have had something scripted for this, but here's the bottom line. Here's the bottom line. One, your relationship with God absolutely exists, whether you acknowledge it or not. And I think
Yeah.
that if you recognize how valuable that relationship is, you would realize how many of your things either align, don't align, but rather what you can do actionably about those beliefs so that you can really serve the people that you care about to the highest degree, yourself included, your family included, primarily. There's a reason why idolatry isn't limited to just a graven image, because frankly, I can make an idol out of ministry work if I'm serving
Mm.
the ministry before I'm serving my role as a husband and father. So the idea of you being completely sold on why you believe what you believe, doing the hard work of thinking those things through, and then seeing how that impacts how you serve your end user, be it your customer
Mm.
or the man in the mirror. You need to realize that
Oh.
your belief system or lack thereof all impact that. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity to express that with
Oh man, I love, and you hit on my favorite Michael Jackson song, "The Man in the Mirror," right there.
you. Yeah, man, you're one hat away from Billie Jean, bro. So be careful.
Yeah, I'm a smooth criminal today, if you can't tell, right here.
Yeah,
Dude, it's
bro.
been absolutely amazing. I had a blast.
Yeah, me too.
I hope there were more writer downers that we didn't even clock for somebody that they had
Yeah,
in their.
somebody, if you were watching, man, write it down. Help me out, right? You know what
Yeah,
I
tell me what was impactful, because I think that that's the thing that I wanna keep doing with this, and there'll be that. What I love is this is like the launch inaugural one. You're on it, and we had an amazing conversation about all kinds of different stuff. It went in every awesome
mean?
direction,
Yeah.
and that's what I wanna do each week. I wanna do this every week with somebody, and you can have a passion in a whole bunch of different areas, but what are you passionate about? I suppose that'd be the only people I don't wanna talk about is if you're dead inside. You're passionless.
That'd be
You're
great.
just going through the motions. You don't care. And heck, you could be a smoldering little tuft of a fire, but if there's something that excites you, something that gets you turned on and makes you want to get after it, like that's a conversation that I like having with people. So until next time, this has been great though, man. I absolutely love it. Thank you for being on
Yeah.
here. And obviously we'll do this again. And who knows where we'll end up next time. It might be in a full ministry from you. It'll be a full preach. You'll be
Yeah, we'll
converting the
see, bro.
heathens.
We'll see
Converting
where
the
the Lord takes
heathens on LinkedIn. You know what I'm saying?
us.
All
Word.
right, bud. Hey, everybody. It was awesome to see you. We'll tune in again with you again, or you come back to us. We'll do this again with someone. We'll have Joey back. If you liked him, connect with him on LinkedIn. Reach out to him. You'll find him on there, Mr. Muggz, or connect with me and I'll connect you with him. But hey, appreciate you. We'll see you later. Adios. Bye.